Packers kicked off week 14 with really a thriller and a gutsy win for those Detroit Lions. Trevor Lawrence out for the year and a whole lot more. Our picks for week 14 coming at you right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love and appreciate all the everydayers out there. And welcome to the new listeners. Please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. In today's episode of Peacock and Williamson, brought to you by FanDuel. All you got to do is play $5 right now at FanDuel and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let's start with the Thursday nighter in the books. We've got the rest of the picks for week 14 to make here. Some good prime time games here on Thursday night and Sunday night that I'm excited about. And I used the term gutsy about the Lions win, going for it. Dan Campbell, that's the MO, and that's the Lions. I mean, they want to beat you up. They want to be tough. They want to bite all the knees, and I love it from a standpoint of day one. Dan Campbell shows up, tells you what his team is going to do, and then they go out and do it. And that's what's fun about watching this team. I think you see some issues potentially popping up with the Lions. They are able to find a way to win against a really good division rival here. 34-31, the final. The kick goes through the uprights as the clock hits 0, and the Detroit Lions improve to 12-1 now, defeating the 9-4 Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, let's focus on the Lions first, as you mentioned, and I'm with you. I love the makeup of the team, and some of these teams that have been bad my whole life, I mean, I love whenever they show signs of life, and that fan base so deserves it, and the toughness reflects the town and all that good stuff. And Campbell can be my coach any day, and I commend the staff he built, a lot of former players that have played recently, Deuce Staley and Antoine Randall, guys like we remember. Both coordinators look like future head coaches, maybe sooner than later. The front office has done a superb job of getting new Lions-style players, whether it's through trade, like Darius Smith has been great for them, Jared Goff, or, free agency, or certainly the draft. And the Lions are really, really good. I have two concerns. The defensive injuries are insane. I mean, yes, you won this game. You held on. You'll probably hold on for the regular season, and you're at worst could end up with the 2 seed. Great. But the goals are bigger now. You're a Final Four team last year, the gauntlet of the NFC, and then having to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. You're going to need some defensive players, and you lose Branch and McNeil, and
Yeah,
the
Lions defense has given up 50 points in the last 4 quarters of second half football, right? They allowed the Chicago Bears all the way back. I don't know what the exact point number is, but they 24 in this game, and I think it might have been even more last week, right? Against the Bears.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Halftime. And so that's
worn out and figured out. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. And Aiden Hutchinson, the biggest loss, but they were able to at least replace him, not with as good of a player, but a professional starting caliber player. But so many more injuries, and you're starting to see it. And they're giving up a lot of points, but they're able to weather the storm. Can they continue to do that in January? If they continue to lose players, they're going to have to find. And look, on the other side, the Packers are starting to lose a ton of guys, especially in the secondary as well. There was a guy, who was the safety that came in at the end of the game? Zane Anderson? Brand new to me. They're like, Zane Anderson's in the game. I was like, who is Zane Anderson? That's a great thing. Not to, disrespect the Anderson family and Zane's skills. It's just
good for him.
Situations, and late in the season, a lot of teams have to deal with injuries, and there are a ton of teams, and some teams are like, oh, woe is me that we've got all these injuries. Well, the Lions are finding a way to overcome it, but at some point, does it become too much?
My other concern, I mean, we're recording this the day after Aleem McNeil and Brian Branch got injured in this game. I mean, they're like two of the best players in the league and the only guys left that are stars. Anyway, I think they go for it too much on fourth down. I understand that that's who we are and the locker room loves it. But deep in your own end, you go for it on fourth down, and there's no reason to at the end of the game either. You only really gained like 30 seconds by it. I don't know. I know that's their persona, but I think sometimes you have to be a little bit more strategic. I think they go for it too much on fourth down.
I think the thought was, let's end it, obviously, but then since there was so little time, I don't think they were worried about the Packers going down the other way and winning the game on them on the very last one. And so, and maybe they should have been, but I see it both ways with that. It's who they are.
They have a great line, which basically is very helpful.
It works, and if it doesn't work, you end up like Brandon Staley with the Chargers, right? Because it seemed like it never worked for them, and so
he didn't have a great line.
But like it kind of So having that offensive line really helps. Is probably the reason. We've got an advantage. Let's use it. So it's beyond what the numbers tell you. So
on the Packer side of things, I just recorded with Wig. We did Locked On NFL as I do every Friday, and we do clips from. You got you guys that have the team, the local hosts, of course. And Peter Bukowski was basically losing his mind over how poorly and one-sided he thought this game was officiated, to no surprise, against the Packers, he thought. I thought maybe it leaned that way a little, but I didn't have the same sentiments. And I went and looked in the box score. The penalty numbers are like exactly the same. Both were 7 for 56 or 59 or whatever. And I know that doesn't always tell the tale. But I came away thinking Packers can hang with anyone. I mean, and we were using the example with Wig that maybe they're like last year's Lions, where you show you can hang with the big dogs, maybe even reach the Final Four, one more off season, and you're sitting where the Lions are at this time next year. You go to Detroit and go down to the wire with that team, you're legit.
In a lot of ways, it's somewhat similar because they do have a good offensive line, I think, in Green Bay. And they've got a powerhouse running game with Josh Jacobs, who's, going crazy, especially in the touchdown category. He was 18 for 66 in this game with 3 touchdowns. He got in the end zone another time that didn't count, I believe, right? And then you see the distribution of different wide receivers with different skill sets. On the Lions side, Jared Goff throws it 41 times, and Jameson Williams has 5. Laporta has 5. Tim Patrick, welcome back.
Has right.
Touchdowns and 6. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 5. Montgomery had 5 out of the backfield. Jahmyr Gibbs had 6 out of the backfield, right? Really spreading it around. They were all exactly 5 or 6 receptions for 6 different receivers. And then on the other side, you have Christian Watson, who's got 1 skill set, and he's got 114 yards on 4 catches. Then you got Dontavian Wicks doing work over the middle of the field, giving you a little after the catch. And Tucker Kraft has been phenomenal for them at tight end, doing big things. But, they lean definitely more on the ground, try to shorten this game. And it almost worked, but good on them for being able to come back. And so it kind of shows both sides of this. It's like none of these teams are perfect, Matt, especially as we get into December here and towards January. They can all hang with each other. So a lot can happen here. And to be honest with you, I hope we see another one of these matchups in the playoffs between the Lions and the Packers.
Yeah, and I think it's possible. I think Green Bay could definitely do damage in the postseason.
Bullard, though, the reason Zane Anderson was in the game is Javon Bullard on the other side getting hurt, and just tons of injuries on the outside at corner. They've got to decide if they want to go with Eric Stokes, who's been all banged up throughout his career and has never really worked out. So tons of injuries on both sides for these two teams. And
at least they both get long weeks now. I mean,
that's important.
Might be helpful.
It's important, but a huge win for the Lions if they want that 1 seed in the NFC, even if they are banged up and still some time to try to get some players right and ready to go for that postseason run. And by the way, Ben Johnson, according to Schefter, might have some interest in the Chicago Bears job. So the Packers might get to see Ben Johnson's offense again, but with a different football team starting next year as well. And so
crazy division right now. Yeah,
the insane division. And up next, we got the Falcons and the Vikings that we're going to make picks for, which is a really good one. Tons of games on the week 14 slate. We're making picks next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites from legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. And listen up, if there's a certain man in your life probably enjoys a steak. Just putting that out there. So not a bad option for you if you're trying to find that last holiday gift, especially for someone like dad. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. That's 50% off at Omaha Steaks, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. This episode is also brought to you by Skylight Frames. And when it comes to long distance family, this is where Skylight Frames really shines. And I've used Skylight Frames multiple Christmases as a gift for people that are important to you, but are maybe far away, especially when you have a young child like I do, and you want them to see the updated photos so they're not shocked every time they show up for Christmas. They're like, wow, you're growing like a weed. They get to see some of those photos from the in-between times. And maybe if you're missing someone this holiday season and want them to be part of your festivities from afar, Skylight Frames got the perfect gift for you, because Skylight Frames is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. Super easy to set up. You can set it up in under 60 seconds. Invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight Frame mobile app. And in gift mode, it's obviously it's a meaningful gift. It's a personalized gift, but you can preload it with memories too, without even opening the box, and surprise them with old sentimental photos and brand new ones alike as soon as it's plugged in. And now, as a special offer, limited time for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NFL. That's Skylight Frame, SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com. So let's get into our picks for week 14. I want to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars because Trevor Lawrence is out. That's it, Matt. Knocked out.
Yep.
That's a big part of why Azeez Al-Shaair had his 3-game suspension upheld. Not only did you hurt a guy, and we were arguing about this a little bit on Locked On 49ers, and my guy Eric Crocker, a co-host, is a former defensive back, and he thinks it's over officiated, and the defense it's unfair because like a wide receiver can push off against a DB, and if the DB does anything to the wide receiver equally in retaliation, the defensive player is going to get the flag. And how quick it is when you're trying to tackle a guy, especially a big quarterback who's 6'5" and 230 pounds, could run you over, and these split-second decisions are too difficult for defensive players to make. And I said, look, it's like maybe you get arrested because you have a gun or something, right? Or maybe you even shoot a gun. Maybe you're off in the one of my old buddies was out in the country shooting a gun, and the cops got called on him, right? He's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm shooting this tree over here or whatever it was, and got in trouble for it, right? Well, you got in trouble for shooting your gun. You hit somebody with a bullet from that gun. The trouble is much worse, even though it's the same act of firing a gun, right? And so that's what my analogy was for this. Like, look at the result of what you did, and it made the punishment worse for Azeez Al-Shaair. And now the Jaguars the Jaguars weren't going anywhere this year, obviously, and maybe this is the best thing for them as far as a tank goes, right? Get a high draft pick, but it's unfortunate with a guy who's kind of should be a star and can't get to that star level at quarterback for Trevor Lawrence for every reason, and a lot of reasons not really his own fault.
Yeah, I really hope that this thing stabilizes next year with coaching staff, organization as a whole. I hope they got the front office too, and we really see what Lawrence is, because I'm kind of done making excuses for him. He's been in the league too long to be making excuses. And I understand what Croc is saying, and I said it earlier in the week that I think that they need to go to the competition committee and have some sort of flag for sort of fake sliding. And I'm not saying Lawrence did that. And kind of reminds me like when James Harrison was in his prime. I mean, Al-Shaair now is going to be the most targeted guy, most hated dude out there, and he's not going to get away with as much as Joe Average safety or linebacker. Yeah.
And there was
the way it works.
There's zero accountability too. I didn't really love what D'Amico Ryans said, and I didn't really love what Aziz said. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm the villain now," and kind of lean into it. It's like,
right.
Look, if you don't have that mentality, maybe you're not in the NFL as it is. So, and it is all. We always see the replay in slow motion too. It's like, look, he had 10 seconds to get out of the way and not hit him.
Right.
Not quite.
He thought about it. He checked his watch.
It was obviously egregious, and you got to admit that if you're the Texans, if you're Aziz Al-Shaair.
Yeah,
3-game suspension is better than what Trevor Lawrence got out of it. Put it that way. So the 2-10 Jaguars are at the 3-9 Titans, and it is the Tennessee Titans favored by 3.5 over the Trevor Lawrence-less Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I can't take the Jags. I think they're playing the worst football in the league and don't have a lot of intentions on winning football games. So I think Tennessee is an easy one for me here.
I think Doug Peterson's been phoning it in for a little while now.
Yeah,
and the Titans they have a team that's been scrappy and played a lot of teams tough. And as long as Will Levis doesn't throw the ball to the other team 3 times, I like the Titans as well. So yeah, I'll give up those 3.5 points and take the Titans here.
Mm-hmm.
New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins at home are favored by 5.5 points. This is 3-9 at 5-7. Both these teams really division rivals. Their season's gone completely the opposite direction of what they had hoped, and the Dolphins still have a fighting chance potentially, and I would give them the edge, and I think that's why they're favored by 5.5. But I don't know. I hate this one, man.
Ooh, see, I have. I'm looking at here 7 games that I feel very strongly with the spread, and that's a big number for me. Usually, it's like 2. This is one of them. I still respect for the Jets defense, but I think Miami's offense is starting to hum pretty well, and Tua is playing great in their building. The Jets, I think they don't care as much anymore either. I think Miami boat races them.
Have you seen the new Aaron Rodgers doc? Or are you excited to watch it? I don't even know if it's out yet.
I didn't know one was existing.
Yeah, it's called Aaron Rodgers Enigma. And I think it's what he was filming some of this stuff, which I think is why I remember the offseason thing and he couldn't reschedule a trip he had. I think that was all part of it. But just maybe a disaster. It's a disaster in New York. And so, yeah, you talk me into it. Yeah, I'll give up 5.5 points. I feel like it's too many, but
wonder if that's where Rodgers' focus lies.
Yeah. Here's a good one. It's the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. And this has got playoff implications for the Vikings now, who can really strengthen themselves as the 5 seed in the NFC and stay 1 game off the pace of where the banged up Detroit Lions are, and really be in the mix. Like if they can close the gap, now you're talking about 1 seed potentially for the Minnesota Vikings. And obviously the Falcons at 6-6 are really battling for, I think, a playoff spot, because I don't think the wild card's coming out of the South, right? So 6-6 Falcons and 6-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One of those teams is going to win the South. The other team is probably going to go home in January. So Falcons-Vikings, a lot riding on this. Minnesota favored by 5.5 at home.
It's another one I love. I love the Vikings in this game. From a Falcons perspective, I hate how Cousins is playing. I hate that he has to go back to Minnesota, which is an awful place to play. Going to be loud. I hate that Flores is going to come after him and hit him relentlessly because he doesn't protect himself in the pocket very well. And on the other side, Darnold worries me whenever he's going to be under a lot of pressure. Well, the Falcons rush the quarterback extremely poorly. On the road, I think Minnie blows them out.
You've been able to get a little pressure recently. They were the worst pressure team in the NFL for most of the season. You don't think there's a Kirk Cousins revenge angle here? They play like a nice
playing really poorly. Game. I don't like how he's playing at all. I think there's a better chance that goes to Minnesota, looks terrible, gets benched.
I'm going the other way. I'm going to pick the Falcons, not to upset the Vikings, but keep it within 5.5 points, and a little Kirk Cousins blip that might quiet some of it against his old Vikings, a little extra, and maybe this is the last gasp for Kirk Cousins. But he'll, because right now he's fighting off the dogs that everybody wants.
Oh yeah,
Michael Penix in there. Kirk's just the way Kirk's built. I like Kirk Cousins in this game. I'm going to give him a little credit, even though he's not moving around like the same guy. He's not going to throw the ball to the Vikings 4 times. That's my opinion. We'll see. Find answers against that blitz. Saints Giants, New Orleans on the road, favored by 4 against the New York Giants, who are maybe the worst team in football right now.
Yeah, they're really horrible. I think the Saints have shown some signs of life and have a legit NFL quarterback, and I think they win this game without a lot of resistance either.
I like it. Give me the Saints, and I'll give up those 4 points. I don't like picking all these underdogs, especially. I don't like picking all these favorites, especially home dogs here. But I just think that's the way this week is looking for us here. Let's finish it up next. We've got Seahawks Cardinals, a really good Sunday nighter as well on the Week 14 slate of NFL games next. Here's a gift idea for the sports fans in your life. And Matt, I don't know if you've got yours handy, but I got an ice shaker sent to me from the fine folks at iceshaker.com, a special offer for, and look, I'm going to get, black. This is the 4D. We both got the 4D. I love the helmet stripe on it. This is a high quality.
It's heavy. It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was surprised how high quality this thing was. Shout out to the Gronks who were part of this as well. Ice Shaker.
My kids are going to steal that off me in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, is getting swole? Putting some protein down and hitting the weights a little bit.
A little bit.
Ice Shaker is now officially licensed. Have you seen by the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA? And if your holiday list is not complete yet for those sports fans in your life, Ice Shaker was created and used by Gronkowski brothers. Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, high quality workout bottles. And now you can go to iceshaker.com, use code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout and save it 25% on your order. It's kitchen grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like other plastic bottles do. And silent patented it's a patented twist-in agitator that breaks up powders and is silent when you shake it instead of that annoying ball. Order your team-branded bottles today, and there's ton of other brands as well. There's like a Disney bottle I saw. There's tons of options for you at iceshaker.com. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers. All of the lines we reference on today's episode of Peacock and Williamson come from our friends at FanDuel and FanDuel.com, America's #1 sports book. And you can get ready to tackle the NFL action right now, especially if you root for a team that's not kind of in it right now. And maybe you need a little extra juice in these games to keep you really invested the rest of the season. You can do that with FanDuel because you can place live bets on the NFL. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need for live NFL betting, NBA, NHL, and right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today or download the app and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Tons of props, tons of weekly lines, draft props as well. If your brain's starting to head toward draft season, that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. All right, Matt, let's go through the rest of these Week 14 games and make some picks. We've got the Eagles that are favored big time. 13-point favorites at home are the 10-2 Eagles against the 3-9 Panthers.
I'll lay the points. I just think that I have respect for what the Panthers are doing on offense, but that Eagles D might be the best in the league. The Eagles' offensive line against the Panthers' defensive front, to me, is blowout city.
I don't know if I'd put my money on this one because I don't like the 13-point lines, and I've got some wins this year betting against some of the big lines, but man, it's hard for me on this one, so I'm with you. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Okay.
How about your Steelers? 9-3 Steelers at home hosting those Cleveland Browns. And if I'm not mistaken, the Browns already knocked off the Steelers once, yet the Steelers are favored by nearly a touchdown, 6.5 points.
Yeah, I think the line's a good one. I always have to do an official prediction, and I predicted the Steelers 27-17, so I will pick them, but I don't love this as a bet necessarily. But I do have some crazy numbers that might, stray you a little bit here. Is the Browns recently won a playoff game in Pittsburgh, but their last 20 regular season games in Pittsburgh have been losses. 20. They haven't swept the Steelers since 1988. That's the longest streak in NFL history amongst divisional teams. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah.
Hey, this is the Jameis Winston Browns, okay, Matt?
I know. He's fun.
He is fun. Does he throw it to the Steelers 3 times is my question here. Divisional matchups. 6.5 points too much. I'm taking the Browns.
Okay. I understand it.
Yeah.
They're much better with him.
The Las Vegas Raiders are at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is blowout city, right? The Bucs have everything to play for. They're at home. They're favored by 6.5 points. They're tied for the division lead with the Falcons. They don't have the tiebreaker. They got to win football games like this. They want to be a playoff team. I like the way they're playing. Don't like the way the Raiders are playing. I said the Giants might be the worst team in the NFL. But I guess the Raiders, I would say, is probably worse if they were playing against the Giants right now. I think they have a couple more pieces I'd be excited about. I don't know. 6.5 points, not enough. Give me the home Bucs.
Yeah, this is another one I feel really strongly about and don't think the line is close to being big enough, which always worries me when you say that because Vegas is pretty smart. But, man, I don't think this is a close game at all.
Seattle Seahawks at 7-5, one game up on everybody else in the NFC West, and they got to win to keep it that way because the Arizona Cardinals are hosting the Seahawks at 6-6, and if the Cards win, got a 7-6 tie again at the top of the NFC West. The Cards at home are favored by 2.5.
Yeah, like from your Niners perspective, I'd be a little worried because I think Seattle and Arizona have good young coaching staffs. Like they found their guys and they're getting the defenses are really starting to show that to me. This is probably the most important game of the week. I mean, it's kind of easy to overlook, but I think whoever wins this probably wins the West. And I went back and forth who I think is going to win, and I don't feel strongly about it, so I'm taking points, and I like that angle for sure.
Yeah, and from a 49ers standpoint and a Rams standpoint, and you're watching these other games, it's like, okay, your team, and really for all these NFC West teams, you're like, okay, you need your favorite team to win all the division games. So they have that tiebreaker in case everybody, like we have a 4-way 9-8 tie, right? That's one of the possibilities that happens. And then everyone's 3-3 in the division. And then you're going to the next tiebreaker and the next tiebreaker. It's the way it's shaping up right now. So like, Niners fans and Rams fans are rooting for the Cardinals to win because they just want everybody to kind of split games and beat up on each other while their own team wins all the rest of their NFC West games. And if this game was if the line was 0, I'd take the Cardinals at home, but I'm taking the points here because I think it's close enough. And I do think the Seahawks are playing slightly better football all around.
I agree with 100% of that. I mean, the fact that I was getting points was enough for me. Okay, I'm in,
Speaking of those Rams in the NFC West, we've got the Buffalo Bills who just completely trounced the 49ers at home. There's not going to I haven't checked. I'm going to go out on a limb. There's not going to be snow in Los Angeles as the 6-6 Rams are hosting the 10-2 Buffalo Bills. Buffalo favored by 3.5 on the road.
I bet there's a fair amount of Bills fans there too. I mean, it seems like a nice time to get out of Buffalo and go to LA and spend a few days. Yeah, I can see the Rams playing them very competitively for a half or so, and then this thing really getting away from them. I like the Bills here.
I like the Bills a lot. Yeah, this is easy for me. I don't know if this is one of those games that you loved, but I do love this one.
It is, yeah.
I'm giving up the 3.5. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I think the Rams are that team where you see them beat some mediocre teams. You see them compete even maybe with some good teams for a half. Like you mentioned, the Buffalo Bills are better, and I'm betting on the Bills to go handle business here in LA. Chicago Bears are at the San Francisco 49ers. Let's finish up the NFC West portion of this. And the Niners are favored by 3.5. That line is actually getting smaller and smaller here. And there's so many injuries
it should be
on the 49ers side, right? I'm even at 3.5. I'm still taking anything over a field goal. I'm taking the Bears and taking the points here. And I was hoping it was going to stay at like 5 and 4.5, but it's I think a lot of people are seeing it the same way. The 49ers aren't the same team with how banged up they are. And we talked about some of the injuries with the Lions and the Packers, and the 49ers have had even more injuries to key players, and some of the guys who were still playing, like Fred Warner, Fred Warner has a broken ankle and he's still playing. Like, he probably shouldn't even be playing. And if 49ers lose this game, he might have to get some surgery or whatever. And we'll see him another season too. So, Bosa not practicing, Trent Williams not practicing. And to be honest with you, the combo of Bosa and banged up Fred Warner is way worse for the 49ers than having a rookie like Isaac Guerendo at running back instead of Christian McCaffrey. But by the way, Christian McCaffrey's out. His backup's out. So you're going to the third string running back. They're claimed Abonaconda off waivers to be running back for him this week. It's a disaster season for the 49ers. They've got, the tragedy and adversity all around. There's, a couple of players had children that passed away. It was like everything's going wrong for the 49ers this year. It's a tough season. And the Bears have kind of turned things around and have an interim head coach bump potentially coming with Thomas Brown stepping in. He already did a good job stepping in at offensive coordinator. Now he's stepping in as head coach. A couple of big promotions in season for Thomas Brown. Stock up for Thomas Brown. I'm going to take the Bears if I'm getting points here, because the 49ers are just not the 49ers right now.
Yeah, I thought this would be a pickup game, to be honest with you, just because two organizations in very different places, and you laid it out really, really well. I don't even care that it's on the road. I don't have extreme faith in the Bears or necessarily think Thomas Brown's going to, lead this team to the promised land, but I just don't like where the Niners are at.
Yeah, you get the interim bump, which helps me make this pick, and then you also have a team that's good in the second half. The Bears have been really good in the second half of games. The Niners have been awful in the second half of games. So even if the Niners get a little bit of a lead, I don't know if that's safe. Although the Bears have found amazing ways to lose football games.
Yeah, they're pretty good at it. But by 3.5, I don't think.
Exactly. Here's another good one. This one's fun. Don't look, Chiefs, because Jim Harbaugh's Chargers came to play this year. And the Chargers at 8-4 are at the 11-1 Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 4 points at home. The 1 seed not quite settled yet, and that's what I'm looking at here. I think Chargers are going to be a wild card team. Which seed are they in the wild card? I think that's a minor deal. But could the Chiefs potentially lose a bye week at some point if they lose this football game? So this is a pretty big one.
It is, and I'm looking at +4. Is that what you saw as well?
Yep, getting 4 with the Chargers. Yeah, Chiefs at home.
I think Harbaugh keeps this thing close, maybe even wins. I just feel like the Chiefs are vulnerable, that they're due to lose a game. So I'm not going to necessarily call the upset special. The Chargers are going to win the game. But if you're going to give me over a field goal, I think this is a very competitive 21-20 game, 17-16 game, something really close down to the wire that we enjoy watching Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs aren't blowing out bad teams. They're not going to blow out the Chargers, who were built to keep games close. So exactly what you said. I'm with you. Yeah, give me the Chargers. Give me those points. And Monday nighter, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-8 visiting the 5-7 Dallas Cowboys. Cincy on the road, favored by 5, Matt.
I don't understand this. I don't understand why the Bengals were such big favorites against the Steelers. Everyone thinks that Burrow's amazing. They're going to turn this thing around. They're a sleeping giant. Their defense was one of the worst I've ever seen last week. So I think these teams are dead equal, although Cincinnati has a massive quarterback advantage. I want points. I think it should be a pickup game.
Yeah, and the Cowboys have not played terrible, and they lost.
No, they
got Micah Parsons back, and it's almost been a wash there with that trade. And Cooper Rush is not amazing, but it's not a disaster necessarily for the Cowboys. So with the way the Cowboys are playing, with the Bengals defense not being able to stop anybody, maybe you go over on the 49.5 in this game.
I can see a lot of that.
Home dog Cowboys, Monday nighter, prime time. I think I have to take the Cowboys here. I don't know how you don't.
I'm not a betting expert, but I would bet that one of the money makers of the year was betting against the Bengals from start to finish, because they're favored all the time and they never win. Right?
Yep. The Niners as well. They've been favored in every
that's another one.
two, I think, this year. And similar MO, right? Oh, it's the Niners. They're good. They're going to win.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right, there we go. That's week 14. Let us know what you think at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Check out one of the other 200 podcasts on the network, by the way, for your second listen here on the network. And Matt and I will be back Monday to break it all down right here. Peacock and Williamson.